All right, well, check this out. I finally got a Vice Grip Garage merch. And when I say finally, I just mean I finally bought the merch. Their shipping was really fast. I got it in like 4 days. Anyway, I'm making this video just to say I know my production quality is terrible on this series, and it was really never intended for public consumption. So hopefully somebody gets some value out of the things I'm showing and what I learned and problems I ran into and how I got them fixed. So that's what this is all about, at least right now. So I hope you enjoy. All right, so the harmonic balancer on the 2001 NB Miata failed the other day. If you don't know about harmonic balancers, I'll show you here this in just a second. It's a two-piece pulley, that attaches to the front of the crank hub on any engine. They all have it, and it's a two-piece part with a center hub and a rubber piece in between, and it helps dampen out vibrations and whatnot, right? And it serves as your main drive pulley that runs all your accessories. Alternator, water pump, AC compressor, power steering, all of that. Anyway, I'll show you this one on the Miata. Anyway, I'm painting the sun that goes on our fence, but that's a different story. So here's the harmonic balancer, and you can see the rubber is sticking out the front, and it just completely failed. But I ordered a new one, and look how thick that flange spacer is. That's 15 millimeters thick. And I've ordered one, and it showed up, and the spacer was only 4 millimeters. I've gone to the parts stores, and all of the ones they show only have a 4 millimeter mounting plate, I'm going to call it. This one, the mounting plate, is 15 millimeters thick. So I decided to put the balancer back together using the old rubber. And I was actually going to use a bike tire, but I just kind of pounded it back together to see, I don't know. I was just screwing around with it. Now I can't get it back apart. So I've filled the gap in the back with Gorilla Glue. And when I was knocking it back together, just kind of screwing around because I bought a new one, right? The rubber is sticking out the front unevenly. So I don't know. I'm going to try. So I've put some Gorilla Glue in there. I'm going to run a bead of Gorilla Glue around the front, and I'm going to remount it and see what happens. Seems like kind of a not very good fix, but I haven't been able to get it back apart to put I got a bike inner tube that I was going to use for the rubber and see if I could make that work just as a barnyard fix, Anyway, we'll see how it goes. Okay, working on the 2001 Mazda Miata. The Mazda harmonic balancer failed, and I couldn't find one with a thick spacer on the mount plate, so I decided to just kind of put the original one back together with some Gorilla Glue to secure the old rubber. It doesn't seem like a good idea to me, but I'm gonna try it. If that fails, I'll do it again with like a rubber bike inner tube that will be, highly compressed, and maybe that'll work. I'll give it a try because I can't seem to find the right harmonic balancer to buy. All right, well, I wanted to show a couple of things. Yeah, it's really dirty in here. There's been a rat in here, so there's a bunch of rat poop, and I need to clean this up. But, so there's the harmonic balancer down there. I've reinstalled it and torqued to 12 foot-pounds. The torque spec is actually in inch-pounds, but I didn't have my inch-pounds torque wrench back here, so I just used my small torque wrench, and I converted it from inch-pounds to foot-pounds. 150 inch-pounds turns out to be about 12 foot-pounds, so that worked. Also, when you do this, you might... I found it very helpful to remove the thermostat housing and this upper radiator hose. So I lost a little bit of coolant there. I just had a catch pan. I have a you can't really see it, but I have a catch pan under there to catch a little bit of coolant. I didn't lose very much, maybe a couple of tablespoons worth. But that was very helpful to get that thermostat housing out of the way, to be able to access the balancer bolts. Oh, look, you can even see a little bit of coolant on top of it there. On this, I can't really tell where that is. Huh. Guess there's a little hose right there. It looks like there's some green on top of the balancer too. Anyway, so now the next step is to reinstall the belts. So I've got these two belts, and one of them is a little bit smaller. Right, so the numbers, I don't know the brand, I bought these a while ago. 4PK0947, over here 373K4, and then this other one is Duralast, must have got it at AutoZone. 4PK0880347K4. Anyway, one of them is a little bit smaller, and hopefully this is helpful to you. The smaller one is the inner. So there's two, on the balancer you can see that there's two pulleys. The inner one goes to the alternator and the water pump, and that's the smaller of the two. The larger of the two goes over on the driver's side and is on the outer pulley and goes to the AC compressor and the power steering pump. So if you haven't deleted your AC and your power steering, the larger of the two belts will go on the driver's side. Now, just a couple of hints here. In order to get this, you need to loosen, and you can see it right in there. You have to get this pulley positioned just right, and there's a 14 millimeter pinch bolt right through that pulley. That's why there's a hole in the pulley, is so you can access that pinch bolt. So you'll need to loosen that. And then this is a 12 millimeter bolt. So you'll turn this bolt to loosen or rotate the power steering pulley in towards the center to give you the ability to put that belt on, and then you can tighten this back up, tighten this bolt back up to pull that pulley back out to tighten the belt. The same thing on the alternator. This alternator pinch bolt, well, it's hard to get my finger down in there, is right there, and that's a 12 millimeter, not a 14. So you need to loosen that pinch bolt, and then the adjustment is right there, and that one's also a 12. And you'll need a really short socket with a small head ratchet to do it, because there's AC coolant lines in the way, so, or some kind of lines are in the way. Anyway, that's where your adjustment for the smaller belt will be. All right, so I guess that's my next thing, is to loosen that pinch bolt and the power steering pump pinch bolt and get these belts. Oh, it might be obvious to you, but in case you didn't think of this, you want to make sure and do the alternator and water pump side first, because you won't be able to get the AC and power steering one on if you don't do that first. Seems obvious, but I felt the need to say that. All right, well, I got the bullet fixed and running. You might hear it. I wish I would have gotten the video of it before I put everything back together, but hopefully my Barnyard fix holds. It looks kind of iffy, doesn't it? So that pulley right on the front of the crank is the harmonic balancer that failed. And I was just screwing around with it, and I was thinking, I don't know, I could use something to fill that gap, like a bike tire or a bicycle tube or something like that. And I was just kind of screwing around with it, and I got it all put back together, and I couldn't get it apart no matter what. So I just kind of filled it in with Gorilla Glue, and we'll see. Hopefully it holds long enough until we can put an LS in here. But the alternator pivot bolt is under there, and it comes in from the back side, and I could get a wrench on it, but with all of these lines and clamps and everything digging into my hand, I couldn't get any leverage on the wrench. So I had to jack it up and pull down the splash guard under the engine, and I was able to get in there just barely to get on that bolt. And I had to, it is my longest 14 millimeter bolt. It's one of those long ones that's a box end on both sides that's kind of bent. And I had to use, anyway, whatever. I was able to get on it, but I had to get a set of vice grips on the end of the wrench for enough leverage to loosen that bolt. But once I did that, it was super easy. Got the belts back on, and then this bolt here, right here, that bolt is a pinch bolt. And then this bolt here is the mechanical tensioner. So you tighten that up until the belt is all the way tight, so you can just barely give it a quarter turn twist. It's really tight. And then on the other side, here's the tensioner on the power steering pump. You can see that down there. I think I showed in a different video how you get to the pinch bolt on that. And you have to rotate the pulley until this hole in the pulley exposes the bolt. It's kind of bizarre. It's right kind of in the middle of that pulley right there. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. It seems to be running really well, although it's idling a little bit high for some reason. I don't know why that is. But did you hear the AC kick on? All right, anyway, the bullet's running. All right, well, my Barnyard fix of the harmonic balancer is working and running. I've been driving it for a couple of weeks. It's squeaking. I'm not sure if the squeak is one of the belts or if it's something else. It sounds like a belt squeak, sorta. But usually a belt squeak will go away after it warms up. Anyway, there's not much to see. Look down in there, you can see it turning, right? Yeah, I guess you can't really see very well. The intake has to be here for it to run. Here, maybe we can see it from this angle. Yeah, there you go. So there's the balancer, and you can see the rubber sticking out the front of it, but it's working. And it runs great. I haven't had any trouble with it, except for how dirty the engine bay is. I think we'll clean it up, and I want to show a VVT item.